we are recording. And I'm going to share. All right, so I'm just going over our deliverables for this week. I really suggest that you go into this video. It helped refresh my memory on a lot of stuff, but I also threw together a PowerPoint that we're going to be going over. And I opened up the PowerShell ISE, and I'm going to walk you through actually using stuff while we are doing that. So most of you should already have the stuff set so that you can actually start. But if you do not, let me talk to you first about this. Is there anyone that has not done the PowerShell 7 installation on your computer? Okay. Just remember that while I'm doing this and I'm running through ISE, I have already done the PowerShell setup, and I have run this right here. And then I have run, you have to go into PowerShell and you have to run this section right here, which is the set execution policy, remote signed. If you do not set that, you cannot run anything in PowerShell ISE, okay? So just be aware of that. Yeah, I just left it in my example. You can see that in there because it defaulted there from a previous one. And I was like, I'll just put a scripts folder in there. And that way I don't have as many things to transfer around. But I also have a scripts file in my C drive that I can use with my PowerShell ISE. So just so you're aware, before you start out with PowerShell ISE, you need to do this. So this, when you get ready to do that, do all of this stuff first. And then I will also be putting in the PowerPoints out that I've created so you guys can walk through them. The one that I did previously was created by, I believe it was Jay that created that, but I could be wrong. And this one is just kind of a part 2, and we're gonna do a quick refresh of some of the stuff we went over, and then I'm gonna go through a little more in depth. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Yippity yip yip. All right. Okay. Let me launch this. In case you're wondering about the color, I had to change it so you guys could see the PowerShell stuff as it pops up, because it has a blue background, and the slides I originally picked had blue, and it got really confusing. So first, we're going to start out with a quick review. There are the basic navigation commands, which are very similar to the command prompt commands. We have CD, that's your change directory. So say that you're in, a lot of times it starts you out in the system32. You want to do CD C:/ and it'll drop you right into your C drive. I created a scripts folder in my C drive. So I did change directory over to that script file. So any text files or anything that I created while I was testing stuff out would just drop right in there. If you want to list things within your directory, pardon me, you have that ls command, that's list. Print working directory, that's right there. Clear. This is one that we didn't really talk about, but when I was watching the video, I noticed he used this a couple of times, and I was like, oh, I need to throw that in there. Clear just clears everything off your screen so you can start again without a bunch of lines of code. Control C, another helpful one. A lot of times when you put in for help, it'll dump a whole bunch of scrolling things that you scroll through. And if you find one thing that you need and it'll still scroll, in order to get out of it, Control C, that gives you the nice cancel option. and cat. This one is going to be one that we use later. And what it does is it's called the get content command. And you'll see me use this later on. I just wanted to throw that in the beginning so that you guys would have something to reference back to. Okay. So PowerShell ISE. How do you actually run this environment? Well, you search for PowerShell, and I'm sure all of you, if you search for it, noticed, you can see that Windows PowerShell ISE. That is what I'm talking about. And remember, you have to set the execution policy remote signed first. Right here. And then when you open it, you will see the environment over here on the right. So first, we're going to start with comments, because you know how I believe that everything needs to be able to be commented out, and you need to be able to comment things so that you can go, hey, oops, I didn't mean to put this here. Or, hey, Bob, I didn't get this fixed. Please don't mess up my stuff. Pretty easy in PowerShell. Just put a hashtag before it. So hashtag, this is a comment. So there you go. If you want to put a hashtag in front of something so you can comment your code out for later, there you go. Hashtag right host hello world. So let me open up Visual Studio here. I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between Visual Studio Code and the PowerShell ISE, okay? Let me pop over here to this one. Okay, so if I want to comment this out, there you go. Notice how everything just suddenly turned green? That's because it's commented out. If I want to add a comment in here, there we can add the comment in there with the hash mark. And then when you run this, you see the answer is 42 down here on the bottom, but this is a comment, doesn't pop up anywhere. Okay. Very nice Monty Python comment, Gwen. Bonus points. So there you go. That's your quick and easy how to write a comment in PowerShell. Next. Commandlets. Now we've talked about commands, and then we talked about commandlets. These are predefined functions that perform a specific task. So when we have that right host, that's an example. Set execution policy, that's an example. All commandlets follow a verb noun formatting. So right, host, set, execution policy. Unless it is a custom-made commandlet that someone made and did not follow a standardized formatting. But if it's something that's in PowerShell, it will have this verb-noun formatting. Does that make sense? To everyone but Gwen, does that make sense? Okay. Next, we have what are called parameters. These can be added to the end of your commandlet to change your parameters. So example that I'm using on this one is the dash no new line. And that will put two lines together on the same line. So here you see an example, right host, hello world, no new line, right host, hello again, and then it'll put it out on one line. Let me go over to Visual Studio, and I will show you exactly what it looks like. So if we do two right hosts, if we do not put that parameter in there, you see down here, you have them on two separate lines. So if you decide that, look, there you go, it already knows that I want that one. If you don't want them to be on a separate line, let's say no new line, and then rerun it. All right, look at that. And you can see there's also no space in there. So if I wanted to, I can throw a space in front of no, it isn't, and rerun it again. And that looks a little bit better, but you can see we have that no new line parameter. So there are other parameters that you can do. Let me move this down so I can see these. Okay, so we have separators. We can change things like foreground, background color. Look at all these. There are lots of things that you can do. Okay. No, it's not. Muahaha, yes. So there we go. There's an example of a parameter. Okay. Clearing screen we talked about before. That's just a very simple type clear and hit enter, and it'll clear everything off your screen. When you're in PowerShell ISE, Visual Studio Code is of course different because you want to see that because it shows you everything within an actual script file that you're doing. So that's different there. Okay, so if you want to find other commandlets, how do you find them? So you can go into PowerShell and type get command space dash command typer commandlet. And that is just a portion of what scrolled through when I did that. Yes, Google is also a nice one, but this will give you a nice huge list. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, does that come across okay for you guys? Can you see the little PowerShell window? Okay. Okay, so see, and the nice thing about this is it also has the nice pop-up that Visual Studio does. Okay, so that right there, get dash command space dash command typer commandlet. And I do like the nice thing about working in PowerShell ISE, like Visual Studio, is you get your nice different colors. And look at that. You can get all of these, and they are alphabetized. So you can see you have a whole bunch of them here. And so if you're like, I don't even know where to start, well, there's a whole list of them that you can play with. And if you—
Is there a quick search function? Or is that what the commands on the side or on the right side are for the screen?
that is a search function if you want to look at them. Yep. And I will talk about using the help section here in a second, so you can see those too.
Okay.
So let's clear that out so you don't have that there. I'll stop share and we'll go back to this. Okay, so that's how you find your commandlets. Next, help. Okay, so there is a massive amount of stuff in the help. Whoop. Hello, Kitty. So if you want to do just all of them, and I don't suggest, Kitty can't, I already said no. You can. This, let me get back here, get help dash asterisk. So that's basically saying, what does everything look like? And you'll get to see what this looks like. So this is where if you wanted to, and it was like, and it kept doing stuff, you could hit Control-C and get out of there. But as you can see, look at all of that. So if you're like, okay, I don't need to have everything on there. I just want to see help on the right host. Well, let's see what we have. Helps if you spell it right. All right, look at that. There is everything for get help right host. It gives you your name. What's your synopsis? It writes customize output to a host. Here's your syntax. Here's your nice big description. Related links, remarks. They actually are very helpful. Now, I will tell you that it is a good idea to update your help files because there's a good chance that you will not have all of the most current help files. I didn't. So I used update help like that. And it won't probably do anything now. Oh, it's going to try and go find stuff. It's like, wait, is there anything out here? So as you can see, it's looking for everything and it's updating the modules. Okay, so it went out there and it looks like there was one particular module that it failed on. But everything else you saw it go through and it updated those files. So as you can see, that is a nice little one there. But there is also, if you want to know, I haven't used the function over here on the right. I was just using straight out on the coding, but it looks like you can go and look at the different modules and you can search by names and look through them on here to see different things as well. You can run them, insert them, and you can copy them into PowerShell ISE. That's why I wanted to pop this open so you guys could see this and see how you can just run this stuff, straight up run this stuff on your system. All right, let's go back to the PowerPoint. All right, so as you can see, I have a little snip of what that looked like when I first ran it. Piping, okay, so piping commands is chaining commands together. So, for example, in this one, we're saying we want to take the results from command 1 and we want to chain them into command 2. So over here, we did a silly little example. I changed over to my scripts directory and I have a string of text, may the force be with you. And I piped that out to a file named forcewithyou.txt. And so it takes that text right there and it puts it out into that text file. And then if you do a list, you'll see, oh, look, we have the force with you text that is now created and listed in there. So that's what piping does. You're literally chaining your commands together. Excuse me. I think that was one of the best examples that I saw for Because usually they're like, it's just the piping and you just blah, blah, blah. Well, nobody ever really explained, oh, you're actually taking the results and piping them into the next command in the chain. So that's why you can see those massive lines of code where they have like this command goes to this command goes to, and they can get really complicated. But this is just a super simple example of how to use that. Does that make sense to people? Does piping make sense in that example?
No, it already makes my brain hurt. Just the thought process of it.
The piping or
Yeah, the piping, yes. I mean, yes, I'm sure it would make sense after I play with it a little bit, but right now, just thinking about it makes my brain hurt.
okay. Well, the only reason the one thing I want you guys to remember about piping is it is used to chain commands. Okay. All right, next, we're going to talk about variables. So variables are literally just containers that you set values for. So let's create a stupid, simple little variable. So on this one, I'm going to set this variable, favorite Star Wars character, is equal to Darth Vader. I've set the variable, fav Star Wars character, to the value Darth Vader. Now we can pipe this variable out to a text file. So, and in order to do variables, you have to have that $sign in front of there. So that's why there's a $sign. So remember that when you're setting variables, start off with your $sign and then go from there. So let's pipe that variable to a text file. $sign, fav Star Wars character, pipe out file, fav sw character.text. This sends your text file, text value, sends it to your text file. Now, there's also a nifty little thing that you can do. If you want to check and see if the text was set correctly, you can do cat, which we talked about earlier, and it will bring that text and print it on your screen from that file. So let's show you what that looks like. All righty, let me clear this. All right, so let's say okay, so then you want to take that variable, and as you can see, it actually starts to pop up because we've already set it, and we want to pipe this out to a file. So out file. Then so I named the file fav sw character.txt. Now, as you can see, I have the Force With You one that I did earlier. Now I have the fav Star Wars character. So how do we check and make sure that that text, Darth Vader, has actually been sent out into there? Well, that's where this command comes in. And then you can see here it's trying to choose between the two text files. So let's do this. Okay, that's the one we want. Oh, look, Darth Vader. We did it right. Ta-da! Exactly. Exactly. So there you go. That's super simple, and it's an easy way for you to check on any text that you've dumped out into a text file. So you can do the same thing for this one. May the force be with you. You can see that's the one that I did earlier. The dot slash, all that is doing is saying within this current directory. So instead of saying C:/ blah, 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 dot slash says the same thing. Yep, exactly. And ls, remember ls, that's your listing of everything in scripts. Okay. So far, are you guys following me? I'm sure that your brains probably are like, oh, because anything with, yep, anything with programming does that. But I wanted to make stuff kind of silly and fun just so you guys could see what was going on. Okay, so that is basically the end of the little PowerPoint that I have there. Next, we can go into types of variables, but programming is fun like playing Dark Souls. Yes, it's fun and I really enjoy it, but I can honestly say that it doesn't always start out easy. The only reason that it makes sense to me is because I bashed my head against it multiple times. So now I would like us to do some practice together. So I am going to stop the recording here. I know the lecture part's kind of short, but that's because we're going to do a lot more practicum than lecture. So let me stop the recording here.